Okay, so this is activity 3.3 on your worksheet. It is called Looking for a Solution. So let's see. One thing to remember, 1.5 is equivalent to the fraction 3 over 2. So that's something to keep in mind. So go ahead and work on this activity, looking for a solution, and then we will go over it together. Okay, so which of these numbers are a solution to the equation x squared equals 2? So let's look at each of these. Could 1 be a solution to that? 1 squared. Well, 1 squared equals 1, not 2, so we know that that could not be a solution. What about 1/2? If we square 1/2, that would be the same as writing 1 squared over 2 squared, which would be 1 over 4. So again, that doesn't equal 2, so not a solution. Now, what about 3/2? 3/2 squared would be 3 squared over 2 squared, which would equal 9 over 4. So again, we know that 2 would be equal to 8 over 4. So 9 over 4 is close to 2, but it is actually a little bit bigger than 2. So this, again, not a solution. 7 over 5. If we square that, that's going to look like 7 squared over 5 squared, which would be 49 over 25. And this, again, is close to 2 because we know that 2 equals 50 over 25. So it's close, but it's actually just a little bit smaller than 2. So that also not a solution. So now we're going to learn the definition of rational number. This is a term that you need to know. A rational number is defined as a fraction or its opposite. And when we say opposite, what we mean is that if a fraction is positive, then its opposite would be negative. If a fraction is negative, then its opposite would be positive. So remember, we can always write a fraction in the form of a over b, where a and b are whole numbers and b is not 0. Remember, we can't have a 0 in the denominator or the whole world explodes. So a rational number is a fraction, and they can be positive or negative. So we can have rational numbers that are negative. So let's look at some rational numbers. It says up here, because fractions and ratios are closely related, fractions and their opposites are called rational numbers. And you can see the word ratio in that word. Here are some examples of some rational numbers. We have 7/4. You can see that is a fraction, so this is a rational number. 0, which could also be written as 0 over 5 or 0 over 3 or 0 over anything, so this rational number. 6 over 3, that is a fraction. We know it's also is equivalent to 2, so that is a rational number. 0.2, this is a rational number, even though it's not written as a fraction here. It's written as a decimal, but we could rewrite that as 2/10, which is a fraction there. So this is also a rational number. -1/3, this has a negative sign, but remember, rational numbers can be negative. So here's another rational number. -5. Now that's not written as a fraction, but we could change and write it like -5 over 1 or -25 over 5. And so that can be written as a fraction, so this is a rational number. The square root of 9. We learned last week that the square root means a number that is multiplied by itself. So the square root of 9 is equal to 3. So that is also, again, a rational number. Here we have a fraction of negative square root of 16 over square root of 100. So that could be simplified to be -4 over 10. So again, a fraction that is a rational number. Okay, we're going to pause here and pick up with the next video for the next activity.